Welcome to another episode of the Blacksheep Podcast. For those who wonder, the song you heard in the intro is a wonderful up-and-coming artist that I really think you really need to stick to it. His name Ryan David Menghini, and the song is called Baptized, and it's off of your upcoming album that has yet to be released, potentially later this year or even early next year. But Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
This is kind of fun. We're doing sort of a medley of different, small and up-and-coming artists, and so this is just going to be really fun. You'll be one of a few different artists. Tell us a little bit about this upcoming album. I was listening to some of your older stuff that's on Spotify. Kind of has like some of those reminiscent of like an emo vibe a little bit. I love it. Talk a little bit about what you're maybe trying to explore musically in this coming album that might have been a little different than some of your previous albums.
Releases. So first of all, mostly the writing is more like an existential crisis, of sorts. I kind of grew up in the church and stuff, and I think we all have, at some point or another, and at one point you just kind of like see behind the curtain and you don't really like what you see. So lyrically, that's kind of what it's leaning towards. I have like influences like David Bazan and Noah Gunderson and like all these other guys, and I love how like eclectic they are, you know what I mean, and how they write. But also, it's like it still kind of feels like it belongs on the same record together, like usually all their songs do. And so, a lot of it is just like I grew up, or I guess my young adult life, I was in bands, touring and stuff like that, and I just kind of I wanted to do less of a like stripped down thing because it's obviously just me and a guitar, but I wanted to do it full band, so that's what we did, and I was fortunate enough to have Nate Washburn, who's like, if you've never met the guy, the dude just shreds on everything that he plays, so it's like really hard for him to suck. So I just would like write these tunes, and he was like, you know what, dude, let's just come down here and I'll record you. I mean, obviously I was planning on doing it with him anyway, so it just kind of worked out, and I think we were going for like kind of like a 90s vibe through the whole record. And I think it kind of like there's a couple songs in particular that sound to me like an Eve 6 song or something. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I was like, I don't know why I like that. I should hate this, but I think it sounds sick. So,
I think that's really making it the rounds coming back,
Yeah.
That music is it's reminiscent, but also I think people are realizing that we never really like delved deep enough into those genres. So I'm glad that we're kind of getting that nostalgic newness back.
For sure. Yeah.
I also got to say that I love some of like the really like just straight up blues influence on this album.
Yeah.
You've really seem like you're playing with some grittier tones and vocally. I mean, dude, you're up there, man. You got it going on. I'm sure people tell you that all the time, but man, you've got one of those voices that are easy to remember. There's so many voices out there that you're just like, God, another voice that sounds exactly like the other one, overproduced.
Right.
Yeah, your voice is definitely clear and present. And for me, it's the reason that I like to listen to your music. I've been coming back to it over and over again.
That's awesome. Well, that's high praise, in the words of Nick Cage. That's high praise, yeah, I mean, my mom was a gospel singer, so that's kind of like where I got a lot of like my singing roots, I guess. And all of her sisters, she's like one of like 5 sisters. They had a trio too, and they'd go on tour when I was really young, and I'd go with them. So I'd like always be listening to my mom and stuff, and that's kind of how I learned how to harmonize. All the harmonies you hear are like me.
So you're doubling them up.
Oh yeah.
That's killer. I guess I didn't even really notice it. You must.
That's cool because
we put it in the mix perfectly.
Yeah. Well, we kind of beat that horse to death in like my older bands, and so Nate was like, instead of doing that every time, let's do it like intentionally this time. You know what I mean? And make it every time it hits, it just makes it that much more like awesome. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I guess yeah.
So I hear that you also have you have a podcast as well.
We do, yeah.
Called the Sultans of Slap, and that's with Nate Washburn as well. Are you guys just best friends and you guys just making music, just jamming together?
Yeah, man. He's my main dude. I mean, we like literally, when I first met him, I think we started like making fun of our choir director in college, and like just because he was the sweetest, nicest man ever, and it because of course, and so he's just like, you would say that, Dave Collins, you know what I mean? Like, like you feel like with your perfectly coiffed hair, and like I was like, this guy's my best friend for sure.
Nothing brings people together like hating on the
just
people who are the nicest of people.
If you have hate in your heart, let it out. You know what I mean? So, no, I'm just kidding. But no, it was just one of those things where it was like, I don't know. We were best buds. We've been writing music together for, man, since 2006. So yeah, 14 years.
Wow.
And haven't really stopped. I mean, he lives in Atlanta now. I moved to LA, but we still kind of like file share, and that's kind of how this album came to be. I was just file sharing with him, and then finally I just went down and recorded it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Would you mind explaining a little bit of the recording process of this new album and everything like that, and maybe some of the influences that went into everything?
Sure. I mean, like, what do you want to know?
Oh, I don't know. Give me the general rundown. Where'd you do it? Who'd you do it with?
At that point, Glow in the Dark lost its, Glow in the Dark Studios in Atlanta.
Yeah, we heard about this. I forget what band told us this, but they lost their
space.
Studio.
And actually, it wasn't necessarily that they lost it. It was from what like I said, this is all secondhand knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but what I gathered from Nate was that the landlord was just asking way too much for it, and Goldman was just kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? It's a legendary studio, and it was I got to record a BS album with my oldest band, Helio, just for funsies. So I got to record there for once, but then as soon as I did, they closed that down, and then they moved to Jellicoe until they found a new space. And so I was in the album that was recorded in between there. Me and Shane for Everything in Slow Motion. We were like the two of the records that were produced out of that studio, and it was in Jellicoe, Tennessee. It's this tiny town, and it was in this gutted out church, and the steeple or whatever, the main worship hall or whatever was the main room. So it was like these huge vaulted ceilings, and we just got some really pretty stuff out of there. And we stayed there. There's like bunks in like one of the rooms, and basically Glow in the Dark moved all their junk, or not, I shouldn't say junk because it's really nice gear, but they moved all their gear into that place. And so I got to like sit there with my best bud and his brother, who also we're like super good buds, and we were just chopping it up and recording jams. You know what I mean? It was really fun. And then when I left, I think they recorded a couple more records out of there, and then they moved back to Atlanta, and now they have a smaller space in Atlanta. So my next record will most likely be recorded there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, that's fantastic. Then what were some of the influences of this new album? Especially lyrically. I mean, like tell us what maybe is. I know you said some maybe dissatisfaction with the church and things like that, but can you go a little deeper into that?
Well, and you also have to understand that this record was recorded like 2 or 3 years ago. So it's really? Like we've been sitting on it for a while, and literally I was about to not sign a contract, but I was about to like pay money to have this marketing company take my album because they liked it so much. And they were going to like put it in Australia, like out with the UK, Canada, Mexico. And they were like, we're going to get you playing live here more in LA, and we'll try to help you find a band and stuff like that. They basically were like, we're a label but without the signing process. You don't have to sign with us or anything. And I met with them like 4 or 5 times. I looked them up, and it all seemed legit. And then COVID, so it was like, damn. Yeah. So I was like really right there. And then all that started happening. And then I just like lost a ton of money, and I lost my job like everybody did basically. So I just was like, well, but basically lyrically, that was a long story long. Lyrically, it's a lot of the songs are like surprisingly, like most of them aren't about girls, which I'm pumped about. So,
that's the songwriters.
There's only so many songs where it's just like, she just doesn't want you, bro. Like, move on, like, for God's sake. Anyway, no, and so I, when I say existential crisis, like, I grew up in the church. My mom was a gospel singer. My parents are obviously like heavily religious and stuff. But I went to like a Christian college and I saw a lot of like really ugly stuff, just stuff that it wasn't necessarily like, like grody. It just was like stuff that made my soul hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of didn't make sense that these are people that are supposed to be like representing something like that and not really, what's that famous saying of like they say it with their mouths but deny it by their lifestyle type of thing. And so I just kind of, I was just like, man, I just don't want to be any part of this, and it's not me necessarily saying that I have all the answers or that I think I'm like some, new guru or the next Nexium sex cult guy. But you know what I mean? Like, at least, I know that this isn't right. And then especially now, I mean, this album kind of reigns a little bit more relevant now with the COVID and stuff, of just how I've lost a lot of respect for people that like were my heroes, you know what I mean? Like, were people that I really admired, and now I'm just kind of like, man, I'm just losing respect for you, and it's just like, and it's sad, really. I'm not really happy about it. It's just kind of a bummer. And I think I just kind of needed to get those songs out to just, some of them are obviously about girls, but like most of them are about like, that crisis,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
This is sort of besides the point, but
Sure.
Can I just say that every time you say the Corona or the Rona, it just is like the most Midwest grandpa thing I've heard.
I basically am a Midwest grandpa in a 33-year-old's body.
Next thing you got to do is make a Rona roll, or like a Rona.
There you go.
A Rona casserole.
A hot dish, eh?
Hot dish if you're from Minnesota.
No, I lived in Minneapolis for 10 years. I know all the, but it is different from a Northern Michigan accent, which is where I'm from.
That's true. Yeah.
My parents are both Yoopers. And man,
I was gonna say, are you a Yooper? Yeah,
it's like the exact opposite side of the coin of like a Bayou speaker. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what they're. I showed a clip of my grandpa to like people in LA, and they were like, "I don't know what he just said," and he's like, "Oh, to put the washcloths on the line there, eh, right?" Like, I mean, it's thick up here. My dad, if you hear me talk to my dad, it's like it just comes out. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah.
Those accents are prolific around here, though. I hear you.
Oh yeah.
Well, Ryan, thank you very much. This has been great. I hope people get excited about listening to the new album. I hope it comes out sooner rather than later, and I hope that it absolutely explodes, because I think it has all the potential to. You're a killer songwriter, hell of a singer, and it sounds like you've got some great friends that are definitely leading you down the right path musically as well. So thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Anytime, boys.